Conflict and conflict management within interpersonal relationships. Learning how to develop interpersonal relationships with most everyone can certainly affect someone to be more successful than those who do not. Almost everywhere there are communication issues within every relationship. There are different types of conflicts along with different ways to approach these conflicts. Having a healthy relationship is extremely good on you, and it can be a major influence to those whom you surround yourself with. I have found this topic to be very influential in my life, as well as improving all the relationships around myself, as well as those yet to come. In order to obtain a healthy relationship with just about anyone, there are ways to understand and identify different misunderstandings and issues, along with ways to solve these conflicts. There are healthier approaches to reducing a conflict other than stressing over something that could be solved so easily. Resnick, Roloff, and Miller, all authors that comprised an article for interpersonal arguing related to stress from 2013 called Communication During Interpersonal Arguing. Researchers suggest that arguing can be stressful. Although it does not have to be this difficult, it is determined by the duration of the issue, the frequent amount of times someone brings up the issue, and the resolvability. Roloff states in the article that ongoing arguments can be viewed as chronic stressors and have a negative impact on an individual's immune system. When deciding whether to continue an ongoing argument, compare them with the benefits of solving the issue and take into consideration the health costs associated with arguing. Now that we have covered the health issues that come with interpersonal conflict, let's go over the ways to understand and able to identify these conflicts. There are several techniques for understanding a communication issue. In the article labeled Using Effective Communication Technique to Reduce Conflict from 2012, the author addresses a few techniques in which someone can use to respond to an issue brought up in any given relationship. With the diffusing technique, the author says to agree with the other person for being unhappy. The author directly states, when you find some truth in the other's point of view, it is difficult for the other person to stay angry. This technique requires empathy. Having empathy is putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Stroking and using I are hard to do, but the author talks about how these techniques can calm the tension between the others, because although the other person may be extremely upset, positive reinforcement will calm him or her down. The University of Northern Iowa College of Business Administration in 2011 recalls in Chapter 12, Communication Strategically. The author from the site business.uni.edu recognizes the common source of misunderstanding that can lead to conflict, understand how conflict may arise in a business setting, along with talk about methods of communication designed to resolve misunderstanding and conflict in a productive way. Communication should always try to avoid misunderstanding by using a clear, concise business style. Even the best communicators will sometimes find themselves misunderstood, as well as finding it hard to understand others. The best communicators will simply not create or listen to a message and assume that it has been understood exactly as intended. Working effectively with others can depend on communicating effectively with those who have different communication styles. Since I've covered why it's unhealthy, mentally and physically, to let a conflict or an issue blow up, and how to address one as well as identify a misunderstanding before it happens, let's go over how to know which solution to use and at which time. First, you have to ask yourself, is the conflict worth the time and deliver an equal solution, or is withdrawing a faster solution? In the PersonalityExplorer.com website from 2013, the author states that using forcing or competing technique is appropriate in such times as standing up to one's own rights. It can provide a quick solution for a conflict, but this is the last resort. The problem-solving technique, or collaborating, involves working with the other person to find a solution that fits both parties. This also includes identifying the underlying concerns and finding an alternative that would fit to each person's concerns. Avoiding conflict or withdrawing from the conflict is defined as when a person does not pursue his or her own concerns or those of the opponent. The author says the person neither addresses the problem or postpones it. but simply just withdraws. This is best when the issue and fighting is just not worth it. Maybe when it has become too stressful. First, you must learn to listen to what the other person has to say. You have to be understanding to others' reasonings. When the other person is speaking, most people are often concentrating a conversation in their own mind of what they plan to say next. Good communicators are always good listeners, because they have practiced the listening skill and understand what others say and can respond accordingly. Now that we have talked about the reasons to maintain a healthy relationship, because you have more fun and you have an open relationship, along with it being healthy for others you communicate with. Also, you know how to understand and identify when there has been a misunderstanding before a conflict even arises, and you can correct the issue with the best techniques. Learning to communicate effectively will cause people to naturally interact with you because they can sense this quality. Your ability to make someone feel welcome in your presence is a skill of your effectiveness in developing interpersonal relationships.